Hello, family and friends. We want to welcome you to another episode of the Reimagine You Lab podcast. I am your host, MG, and you know that we've got somebody amazing inside the lab with me today because those are the only people that get invited to come in here. And so, listen, I want you to tune in, grab you something to drink. Get ready because this is going to be a good one. And I want to thank all of you guys who have subscribed, who continue to subscribe, who shared our show with others. Please do so. Hit the little bell down below so that you'll get notified every Friday when a new episode drops. All right. Now, with that, we got all the housekeeping out the way so we can jump right into the conversation. And I've got the girl, the one, the only, Patt Mullins is in the lab, y'all. Hello, Pat.
Hi, everyone.
So excited. So, Pat, you already know I done queued you up that we are going to go beyond the bio. So this is your time to tell them who you are, where you're at, what you do, and how you do it, ma'am, if you don't mind.
Okay. Thank you so much for the introduction, and thank you for welcoming me to your family. I really am been looking forward to doing this all day, so thank you.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes. I am just a young girl from the city of Fort Pierce, Florida. I was born and raised here in Florida, and I am actually enjoying life right now as a single, and who is definitely on the look, ready for a husband. Okay, let's just put that out there. A godly man. Let's put that out.
Godly man. Those are the only type.
That's the only type. I am here in Fort Pierce, and loving it, being here with my mom as well. So, and being an author and a plethora of other things. So,
yeah. Well, listen, we're going to dive into some of that because I think that it's important that folks know what it is that you share and kind of how you share. Those are some of the things that make you unique and makes your story, all the more gratifying. And to be honest, it's not the most glamorous subject. However, you share with people how to navigate, and how to become themselves over again, which is one of the things I love, Pat. So, you know what? We'll just kind of dive in, if you don't mind. Pat, give us a little bit of background of, because you talk about divorce, but before you got there, there was a Pat before time. There was a Pat. How did you get started on this path that you're on now?
Well, this is great to be able to discuss this on a podcast called Reimagine You. But a lot of trials and tribulations will, you either do one thing, you will stay stagnant and stuck, or you will grow and go. And I am so grateful that I decided not to be stagnant and stuck, and just on this path. I've got more learning to do than I have years ahead of me. But I decided that during my time of being single again, that it was time to learn some lessons, and may have been a little late to the party, but I'm here and I'm ready. And I am so grateful to God for not a second chance, not a third chance, but a constant brand new chance. And that's a brand new chance for healing and for love and a host of things. So I got here because I just, even when I had walked away from my prayer life, I always came back. Came back. Yeah. And when I come back, the Lord is there to offer a listening ear. And that ear just, I tell you, thank God for God. That's just always there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he is. You know what I think is so important? One of the things that I really love talking about, and even, like you said, the Reimagine You Lab podcast, when I teed it up and first started doing the show, it was really all about, and it still is about change, because sometimes we are forced to change And then sometimes we lean into a change so that we decide, hey, I want something different. I'm going to be something different. I'm going to do something different. And sometimes we don't know that the path that got us there was really intended for us to grow, right? I love when you say, I could be stagnant and stuck, or I can grow and go. And I love that because that's what you're doing. So, Pat, talk to us a little bit about, share a pivotal moment that led to this significant change or any significant change. We're talking about change here. So tell us about a pivotal moment in your life when change occurred.
Well, the most profound one happened some years ago,
Mm-hmm.
back in 2000, when I decided to end my marriage. And so it's pivotal because I've only done it once and I don't plan to do it again. And I went through that change, and it required a lot of work, Michelle, and it required me never to give up on myself. And it required me to just to learn from the mistakes, which I still find myself, getting through, and coming out of cycles. And that is where I am. Let's just come on out these cycles and stay out of these cycles. However, if I find myself back in one, I have to go before the Lord and just, believe in myself, trust in Him first, and believe in myself that there's an opportunity to move forward, to get out of, let's go through the desert. Let's go through the valley. Let's go through, making sure that I go through. So I find myself constantly going through, and I'm okay with that because that means I'm not stuck. I'm not stuck.
Not stuck. You know what? That's important, because a lot of times we think that, or number one, you said a couple of things that I thought about. One was, you said these cycles, and a lot of times people don't really pay attention to the cycles, because there are some, all of us have them, they're just part of the proclivities that we have, the self-awareness. When we really get to a place where we can really be self-aware, we will unblock, there's some patterns here that I can control. How I come out of this, one, and what I do moving forward. And I think that's big. I think because a lot of times people don't really talk a lot about that.
I'm sorry.
Well, I was just going to say, how were you able to identify, this is a cycle that I'm in right here, and I'm not going to stay here. How were you able, because sometimes people don't know how to identify.
Yeah. Well, good friends, a circle of really good counselors, whether that's family. And at my stage in my life, I have found that my best counsel has been my mother.
How about that?
And she has been the counsel that I've often done this with.
Yeah. So true.
And the counsel is considered old school, but it doesn't fail. And the counsel I am finding is that not only does it not fail, but more time than not, had I taken some of that good old-fashioned advice, I could see life a little differently. That's the woulda, shoulda, coulda. So guess what? Since I didn't, I found myself back in some circles. And one of them I haven't repeated has been divorce. I have not, but I have had just a few significant relationships where I found like that they didn't end in marriage as I anticipated. So I had to step back and say, I don't need to date. Let's take a look at what's happening here.
Yeah.
Here. Let's step back. Take a look. And I just decided, you know what, I need to use the word of God as my mirror to do that. And I really desire to do that. And I said, there's certain cycles you just don't have to keep. It doesn't have to be 40 years of the same old thing over and over again. It was never meant to be anyway. And the reason why is because I found myself, the word, as when I met you, I said disobedient, didn't I? Did you not hear me
You
say that?
did. I did hear you say that.
Disobedient would keep you in the cycle. Isn't that something?
Yeah. You know what? That's so key. And it's simple. Because even when we look at, it's funny because we'll look at the example of the children of Israel. And 11-day journey ended up taking them 40 years.
Them churn got names like Patricia, got names like Michelle, got names like Paul and Taekwon. We've all seen ourselves.
Yeah,
Yes.
we have. And if we're honest with ourselves, then we know that it's time for us to make a change.
Yeah.
And sometimes change hurts.
It does. Oh, it does. It's not easy.
It's not.
Yeah.
It's not. So, Kat, one of the things that I really admire about you is you wrote a new book called 10 Steps to Overcome Divorce Stress.
Yes.
And a lot of times people think, you know what, I'm going to get a divorce. And celebrities make it look easy, because, they with somebody and then they're not, or, and all of those things. But they're people just like that, like Pat and Michelle that, that have patterns, I want you to talk a little bit about the book and how you are using it to really help people, but how you got there to even be transparent enough, strong enough to even share. Because you were personal in the book.
Yeah. I found that it was easier to be transparent than to hold my hurt inside and to hold my disappointment inside. I'm not the person who does that very well because there's more room out than in. And so I found myself sharing a lot of my disappointment in the failure of my marriage. And in doing so, I found a tremendous amount of people who were just wonderful and comforting for me. And so they gave me a space. They created a space. They created a space so that my sharing was acceptable.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times, if your sharing is acceptable, you might share a little bit today and you find that they are open to allowing you to share more tomorrow. So a space was created for me and it allowed me to share some very personal things and some not so good things and some bitter things. So I just decided to share it. And the more I did, along with some other steps, because this is not a comprehensive,
right,
by no means, but it's just the things that I found myself doing, the action steps, they allowed me to feel so much better about myself during the process. And that's how I did it. It wasn't magical. It was just listening to the hurt and learning how to replace it. Listening to the disappointment, it means that you missed an appointment, and learning how to replace it. And that's all I did. That's all I did. Over time. I don't want to say it like it was just over time. Over time.
Yeah. No, I think that's key. It is over time. It's not you weren't divorced one day and then able to write a book and tell people what steps to take.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like there is time involved there.
There is. It takes time, and a lot of times we don't give ourselves time.
Yeah.
We don't give ourselves time. Sometimes we'll do things that are detrimental to our health, whether physically or mentally or emotionally, right? We do those things as opposed to just resting and saying, I need to step back, I need to chill, and I need to get some help. And no matter how that help looks, we just need to be able to recognize it. And guess what happens? A better self ends up coming out of it all. When I say better, I mean better than the one from before. And it constantly just gets better and better. So that's where I found myself and still on the journey.
Yeah. No, that's good. I think, so how would you tell people, or how do you share with others to make these transformative type decisions,
Mhm.
even for themselves? Because a lot of times, when you're in the midst of hurt, we always hear people say hurt people. And
Mhm.
they do. That does happen. But
Mhm.
how do you get to a place, or your recommendation, to really be able to make decisions on what that next move is, or how I should handle myself, or how I handle other people? How do you or what do you recommend for people when they have to make a transformative decision, because whether they're deciding to divorce, or maybe they're already divorced,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
trying to figure out, okay, hey, how do I transform right now? Like right now, I just feel like being mad.
Yeah. Um, that it's okay to be mad. It's okay to be mad. It really is. And to
Mhm.
be mad is okay, because there's a scripture that says, and sin not. And it says that it's okay
Mhm.
to be
Yeah.
angry, but not to sin, right?
Right.
Because staying in the anger chair too long, sitting too long, there's a
Mhm.
comfort, and you should never be comfortable with anger. And I didn't want to be comfortable with being angry.
Yeah.
And so that mindset for me stemmed from my divorce. And so I began to utilize that with everything. And I would say at times, I'm going to give myself until 11:59 tonight, and I'm
Mhm.
done with this anger. So I
Yeah.
allowed myself to be, whether I went to bed and fell asleep before 11:59, but when I woke up, I knew that I had affirmed that I'm done. Sometimes it worked, and other times I had to go back to bed the next day and give myself that time. So for me, I say to anyone, and and
Mhm.
women deal differently with
Mhm.
anger,
Yeah.
but all can deal with it. Women deal with it in a very catty kind of way, which makes us look crazy.
Mhm.
Whereas men just look like, oh, he taking care of business, and she must have caused it. Well, no matter what the anger is and where it stemmed from, it requires you to get over it. And getting
Yeah.
over it is not always easy, but it's necessary.
Yeah.
And I just said, I didn't want to walk around with stress. I didn't want to walk around
Mhm.
um, looking stressed out. I didn't want to, I look pretty, but there's
Mhm.
something about her that looks like she's holding on to some stress.
Yeah.
So I just said I needed from the divorce. I've learned that inside work is the best way for me to get healed, and I just
Yeah.
recommend that to anybody else.
No, that's so good, Pat. And thank you for saying that, because a lot of times people think we're supposed to be poised, and not angry. And we see other people in the streets, and they done got mad, and they done slashed
Mhm.
tires, and broke out glass
Speed cars, yeah,
and stuff like that.
yeah,
you know and that anger is real. Emotions are a
yeah,
real thing,
they are.
and we do have to come to some type of resolve on how am I going to handle and deal with this emotion, and
Yeah.
not either bring more pain and hurt to
Mhm.
me, or use my pain and hurt to hurt somebody else, or find
Mhm.
ways to hurt them more. But it's hard doing that. You know what I mean? Like it's hard doing that. I know that that's not easy. Um, so whenever you are thinking about, I love the fact that you're so bubbly and lively, and you've gotten it, you're
Praise
in this
God.
space where, girl, listen, that's what we all say,
Yeah,
praise God,
praise
because
God.
only with him can we.
Mhm.
When you can you tell us, how do you balance, or yeah, how do you balance that need for stability, and then also that drive for innovation? Because one of the things that when I was reading the book, there was so much in it that even as a person that hasn't been through a divorce, and I've been married now, it'll be 28 years this year. But thank you. But one of the things that was there was so much in there that everybody could use. You know what I mean? Like
Yes.
really having that self-talk and really kind of getting to know oneself.
Yeah.
I think that's so important. So how did you, what would tell us a little bit about the inspiration that even got you to write?
Well, I certainly am not a writer. I
Mhm.
didn't, you've probably read some of my emails, so you can tell I'm not a writer, but I am one of those who literally did not have a desire. You couldn't have
Mhm.
never told me that I would be a writer.
Mhm.
I didn't think that what I had to say was worthy of it or anything,
Mhm.
which is one of the reasons why it took so long to actually do it. But what
Mhm.
I also know is that it was a part of the journey.
Yeah.
It was a part, it was like, this is my journal, you know? And I didn't, and I'm actually realizing this right this moment. It's
Mhm.
my journal.
Right.
And I am grateful that I was able to at least journal it and then share it with
Yeah.
others. And the sharing part wasn't anything that I felt that I should do. It was
Yeah.
definitely mandate. So, in doing so, I just decided, you know what? Get this book out here. Others have been waiting. I think you mentioned that to me too. And
Mhm.
I'll never forget that because someone has been waiting to hear what you have to, what you need to share. And
Yeah.
so, it wasn't not at one time I said I want to play the piano. I've said that I want to go scuba diving, but but I don't know how to scuba dive. I barely know how to play the piano, but I did write a book. And
Yes.
I wrote this book because I was mandated to do it. The Lord had told me to do it, back after my divorce, and I just didn't do it. I just you know, I just didn't do it. It's
Yeah.
almost like buying a can of paint. And it's like, I bought that back in 1972. And I was going to paint the garage. And I was going to paint that paint is older than my churn. It's like life gets to life and you don't do it. But I said all that because the need to write it never went away.
Yeah.
That's how I knew I was supposed to write. It never quieted.
No,
And
no, that is so good. That's good. You know what? Because I think that you're supposed to. It's that still small voice that you'll hear and you'll get that prompting. And you're
Mhm.
right. A lot of times, I don't. If we can get the statistic on how many great opportunities, books, or TV shows, or all kinds of things are in graveyards because the person died before they ever had a chance to get it out.
Yes.
And so I always commend authors and those who have taken action on what it is that inkling, that still small voice that came to them to do, and they
Yeah.
actually got it done. So
Yes.
no, I love it. I love it. So let's talk a little bit about practical strategies, right? Like there
Mhm.
are some practical things that you just have to be ready for. What are some key pieces of advice that you would give somebody navigating divorce, right? Like there's just some practical things
Mhm.
that, hey, everybody's going to probably hit this. This is going to be one of those things that if this is you,
Mhm.
you're experiencing this or what have you, what just some practical advice. I loved all the things that you shared in the book, and we've got the link below so that you can get to www.pattmullins.com so that you can order you a copy. You can find out more about Pat and what she does and how she speaks. She's an amazing speaker.
Oh,
um
thank
but yeah, but tell them, give them just a quick hint of a few practical things that you think that anybody that may be experiencing or having gone through divorce may need to do?
I think everyone needs to quiet their heads and listen to what's best for them
Mm-hmm.
because so much is going on.
Yeah.
This type of stress or these type of stressors come with a lot of voices in the head. And because they do, you can't hear anything good. You can't hear any good advice. Nothing is for you for some people. And that, you know, I've got 10 lawyers, set up. Well, the stress is in your head. It was like, well, maybe I should do this or that. Just quiet that noise. And quieting that noise will allow you to hear what God has to say for you during this time. And let me just pause right there. My
Yeah.
book comes from a place of uh, a woman who is a born again Christian. And I wrote the book based on spiritual steps that I took and
Mm-hmm.
advice that I also took. And so what I took, I also offer. So for me, every time you're going to hear me speak, it's going to be coming from a place of, well, I don't know anybody else to offer you any advice other than God. I'm not going to send you to Vogue. I'm not going to send you to Cosmo. I'm not going to send you to Ebony. There's no more Jet, but I'm not going to send you to anyone else because no one else can get you through this hurt but God.
Yeah.
So so unpause. So with that being said, it is so important to seek that spiritual advice. And also, if you decide to utilize a um, therapist, I used a Christian therapist. So
Mm-hmm.
even that for
Yeah.
me was on purpose.
Right.
So I intentionally, at that time, not knowing it, but I intentionally took the great advice of, hey, get a counselor. Okay. Where do I find one? Well, I have a Christian counselor. Oh, great. And
Mm-hmm.
so being able to take those kinds of steps before doing any major steps, so to speak, because
Mm-hmm.
our hearts are broken. Our head, our emotions are all over the place. And so before you do any of that, take a moment to quiet yourself. Take a
Yeah.
moment to quiet yourself so that you don't make bad mistakes. I made some bad mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
And I know some friends of mine who've made bad mistakes.
Yeah.
You don't have to if you quiet your spirit and your flesh, this body will follow that. But when your spirit and your emotions are all out of whack, the rest of this is going to follow.
Yeah. No, that's so good. That's good. That's good. That is so good. Well, you do such an amazing job of really, helping people rebuild and move forward. That's what I get from you,
Thank
and I know that you share that in the sessions and such that you have and the with the groups and different things. Talk a little bit about when do you think someone might be ready to start thinking about dating again? Because I know that's a challenging one too.
you. Thank you for that question because I can only answer it from only because that's how I'm feeling now.
Yeah.
Had we had this conversation maybe in November or October when I when I was getting out of a relationship that I thought was going to go to marriage.
Mhm.
Um, let's fast forward now where I have put the work in and I will continue to put the work in because I want to be married. I
Yeah.
long for marriage. I long for it. So what I have done, what am
Mhm.
I going to tell you? I have sought the Lord about what a godly woman should look like.
Yeah.
Um, all of this is easy to make pretty, but the inside takes work. And I have desired that.
It's all right. Take your time.
I have desired so desperately. When I say desperately, is that I just want to run after God
Yeah.
so that the man who is looking for me knows that I've been prepared. And I
Yeah.
wasn't always in this space because I allowed so much worldly advice to enter my
Mhm.
mindset about a relationship.
Yeah.
And so my last relationship ended because I ended it. And it ended also because I just decided that the gentleman that I was with just had too much baggage. And he was this and he was that. Well, sometimes we go into relationships and we haven't held a mirror up to ourselves.
Right.
And I finally had told the mirror up to myself, up to my own. And that mirror was the word of God. And as I held it up, Michelle, I found myself like, God, I really, really, really want to first ask you for forgiveness.
Mhm.
I want to ask you for my hand destroying, having a part in destroying not only my marriage,
Mhm.
but also this last relationship. And I don't ever, you will never hear me say anything negative about any of these men. I can only take my own responsibility. And my own responsibility is that I could be a better woman of God. And so now that I am desiring marriage, it's, you know why, Michelle, I desire marriage? It's because I desire to be closer to God. And I
Yeah.
want my, and I want my relationship with God to mimic, and I want, no, I'm sorry, I want my marriage to mimic my relationship with God. I
Yeah.
want to see oneness, I want to see selflessness, and I had neither one of those in this last relationship. I didn't have that. And I say it because um, I just refused to be submissive in that way.
Mhm.
And um, after I learned, and as I'm learning, as I'm learning in my on my journey with God, I'm so understanding how worthy I am to be someone's wife and how
Yeah.
ready I am to be someone's wife. So I didn't rush in a relationship. I didn't
Mhm.
rush back in a relationship, but I know a lot of people do. And I do know that men usually rush back into relationships much faster than women. I do know that.
Mhm.
And I decided that is not going to be me. It's not going to be 25 years, that's for sure. But
Yeah.
what it will be is a cleaner version of me. I've asked
Mhm.
God to heal my heart. I ask
Mhm.
God not for my marriage per se,
Mhm.
but for this last relationship. So I've
Yeah.
asked him to heal my heart. I've asked him to renew a right spirit in me. I've asked him to put those divine attributes that our dear Peter talks about, and how we as
Mhm.
Christians should, have a life worthy of that. So
Yeah.
I just want to be spiritually greedy right now, Michelle,
Yeah.
so that I can walk the life that God intended me to be as a disciple, so
Mhm.
that the remaining of this time on the earth, I can be a testimony that it may have been a while, but it's never too late. It's never too late. And I just decided that I want to be in God's will with a desire for marriage,
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
that desire, with that desire. So I guess I get teared eyed because I feel so thankful to God for giving me another opportunity um, to get it right and to get closer to Him, to really
Mhm.
get closer to Him. I'm so sorry.
No, you do not have to apologize. You do not have to apologize. I think that's the thing that is so important.
Ah,
And, like that, it takes a level of vulnerability to even be able to share,
yeah,
right? And really that it's a hard thing.
it is.
A hard thing and it's a hard thing,
It
and
is.
it takes time, and now I believe when the scripture says that the Lord will give you the desires of your heart, I believe
Yes.
that Boaz will find you,
Amen.
right? And when
Yes.
he finds you, you'll be Ruth ready.
Yes. Yes. And that's, I want to be that. I
Mhm.
want to be, and I've never thought of my walk with God in that vein before. And so
Mhm.
to be Ruth ready, it reminds all of us that while Ruth was out there working, she
Mhm.
was preparing. And so she was setting things in motion. There's no timeline that we know about how that
Right.
all started. And so I'm also encouraged that it doesn't have to be 25 years. It doesn't
Right.
have to be 10 years. It doesn't have to be 12 months. That when
Yeah.
God is ready, that when we're ready, God will be ready because he'll see our hearts. And all I want him to do is just to see my heart.
Yeah.
And it's not what it used to. This time last year, this isn't the same heart. This
Yeah.
just isn't,
Yeah.
this isn't the same heart. And I just thank God. I hated that I had to be so rebellious to get here, but I love that I had to be because my desire to please God has just I'm
It's
like,
changed.
yeah, I want to be spiritually greedy right now. How's that?
Yeah. I think that's ideal. That's an ideal state. God desires that from all of us
Yeah.
all the time. And sometimes we get away from it.
Yeah.
Not that we intentionally say, "Hey, I'm going to walk away from the way God set this life up
Yeah.
and the way that He likes to do things." Rather than just, you know what? It sounds to me like you're just open. God, use me in the way that you would have me be used.
Yes.
And in that, there's so much favor and grace and love that's a
Yes.
part of rebuilding you, that you'll be Ruth ready. And the good thing is that the Lord redeems the time.
Yes.
He redeems the time. Like he
Yeah.
like I had a young lady on the show
Ah, uh,
a few weeks ago, and I think Sandra told me, I think her episode is going to be, I don't know if her episode has come out yet or not, but I think it has. And she was saying, and she is in her 60s, and she was saying that she had moved, and she she had moved from Virginia to Florida.
uh-huh.
And she was like, "Oh, girl," she was like, "I just was ready to just move and do something different. It
Mhm.
was just that time of my life." And so she did, but she said, "But then I got here and I had a desire too to be married." And she
Yes.
was like, she said it, and I was trying to figure out, where's my husband at?
Yes.
Like, Lord, have you forgotten
Yes.
about me? Like, I want this. It's my desire, and she had moved from where she was from, to a new place. And it took a while. It took a while.
Mhm.
But she was telling me that because she was like, this was going to be the last time that she was on the dating app.
Mhm.
Um, because I'd asked her how she met her husband. Her and her husband go to church with my husband and I. And so she was saying, she was like, she said, I was trying to figure out how men at 60 years old didn't have teeth and didn't have a car and didn't have, a lot of things. And she said this one day there was a profile, and she said, and it didn't even have a picture on it. Didn't even
Really?
have a picture on it. Uh-huh. And she said, usually I don't even respond to, anything that doesn't have a photo on it, because I want to see who it is. I want to see what they look like, if they real, if it's
Yeah.
AI in the photo or whatever. Anyway, long story short, she went ahead and responded, and they talked, and she was like, the conversation was just incredible. She said I couldn't believe it. And she said they ended up going out on a date, and she said it was like it was she told me, and she showed me the little card, because she wrote down on a card, and she still has it in the envelope today, all the things that she wanted in a spouse, but all the things that, and she was still working on herself and everything too. But anyway, she got her a gorgeous husband. She said they dated for a few months, and then they got married.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
to see them together, you would think
Yeah.
that they've been married a long time.
That's a confirmation for me because um, I know that through my refocus on what a godly man should look like, it's his spiritual life, not
Mhm.
not his this.
Yeah.
And we
Yeah.
should be, but it's always, many of us have always, who've been out here on these apps. She's right. You do get some men going,
Wow.
you look at them like that and they want to contact you, but there was something about that picture that was not there, that was spiritual, that drew them. And so hearing that testimony is exactly an awesome testimony, because it's what we should look for in a husband is where he is spiritually.
Yeah.
Where he is spiritually. And I had to learn that recently. It's like, okay, yes, he will be physically attractive, but it's not the first.
Yeah.
He doesn't have to have 6-pack at this point. I'll take 4 or 3. Look, 4 or 3.
Absolutely. And that's part of it. Like it's not sometimes.
That's hope.
Yeah, because sometimes there's packages that things come in
Yeah.
that we don't know what's in that package, and sometimes we've got to dive in a little bit deeper and see, and position ourselves to be ready, which is what you are doing.
That's what I'm doing
when that package shows up. So, Pat, I swear the time goes by so quick. It goes by too quickly. It goes by way too quickly. But before I let you out of here, oh my goodness, me and my
I know both of us, right?
I'm just like, what is happening right now?
We're both tanking.
This is crazy. But share with us, give us 3 things that you would give to change makers, 3 pieces of advice.
Pray about everything. What you hear from your prayers, because I'm talking to myself, okay? What you hear from your prayers, run with it. Don't second guess it. Don't. That's it. Pray about everything, right? Pray about it. What did I say? Pray about it. Don't second guess it, and run with it.
Yeah. That's it. Hey, that's it.
That's it.
I love it. You guys, I want you to know, Pat, it has been a blessing, a sheer blessing having you on with us with me tonight. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Listen, Reimagine family, I want you guys to get connected with Pat. She's doing some amazing things. She's an awesome speaker. Awesome speaker. So if you have
who tries not to cry. I try. I really do.
But I think that's a part of your stake. Like I think people see that vulnerability. They see that this is someone who puts her heart out there. And I think that that's one of those things that your tribe is going to be your tribe. The people who identify with you identify with you. And there's some people on that's listening that identify with you. www.pattmullins.com. Pat, thank you, honey. I appreciate you. Bless you.
And thank you. And just Pat is with 2 T's. So www.pattmullins.com. Thank you, Michelle, so much.
Absolutely. All right, fam. Now you guys know how we do. Every Friday a new episode drops. I want to thank you guys for tuning in, and make sure that you subscribe if you haven't already. And until next week, I will see you next time. God bless you.
Bye.